Welcome to the Box Score, brought to you by Carthage Safeway. Hot out there, Murph.
You could fry an egg on the proverbial, probably on the football field if it's turf. It's going to be awfully warm this week.
Welcome into the second show of the year. Week one in the books, exciting games. And I know Murphy, after 1 week, last week was comfortable on Thursday night at Gordonsville for that ball game. And we'll get into depth for there, but all across the state, not the stifling heat like we're going to see this week.
Upper 90s for the rest of the week, and we're taping this on Tuesday, so coaches are already adjusting their practice times on Tuesday of this week, just to try and be safe as much as anything.
Let's look at the Huff and Puff Trucking Game of the Week on DTC Sports. Look at the stats. The Owls get the win, get a big pick six from Mr. Peyton Hicks to win it 25-19. Owls 19 first down to Gordonsville's 14. A big disparity in the running game for the Owls and a big disparity in the passing yards, Murph, for Gordonsville.
One stat that we don't have up there that I'd really like to know is how many people there. Holy smokes, it was elbow to elbow all the way around the field. One of the greatest long-time rivalries, I think, here in Middle Tennessee, and it certainly lived up to its billing in that regard.
Definitely did. And when you look at total offense, the Owls 326, Gordonsville 278. But, Smith County 2 3 and outs on their final two possessions. And Gordonsville, after the pick six there with about 8.5 minutes left from Hicks, to take a 2-score lead, Gordonsville gets the touchdown. And then they're driving on the last, drive to try to score and get the extra point to win that thing by one. But I thought Jay Foster, the sophomore, even after he made the mistake, showed a lot of heart coming back there, Murphy, in a tough situation and leading his team. Both teams, great effort. It was just a fun game to watch.
Martin and Foster sounds more like a country music duo than it does two young high school quarterbacks. But I was very impressed with both of those young men. They played much, much more mature than most freshmen and sophomores would play.
When you look, Murphy, for the game, the Owls had got 2 turnovers, which led to 2 touchdowns, one on the interception, the other one on the pooch kickoff, which was another big key in the game.
Right. It certainly was. But, 2 very young quarterbacks, first game of the season. They were chances for lots of jitters, but everybody seemed to play very, very well.
Freshman Riley Martin for the Owls, 8 of 14 for 104 yards, 15 rushes for 58 yards, another touchdown. Peyton Hicks, 4 rushes for 34 yards, 2 receptions for 40 yards, an interception return for a touchdown, and also he had a fumble recovery for the Owls. Jaden Evans, 20 rushes for 84 yards. Jay Foster, the sophomore, 16 of 26 through the air, 231 yards, 3 touchdowns, interception. Brady Gentry, a huge game for Gordonsville, 7 receptions, 111 yards, and a couple of scores.
Smith County had a freshman quarterback last year, too, I think. Isn't that right? He's now playing at Beach High School. Let's hope they can hold on to Riley beyond this year under center for Smith County.
Well, 2 years ago, they put Peyton Hicks there at quarterback. If you remember, Johnny Lida had gotten hurt, and so they had to put Hicks. So 3 straight years, they've had to use a rookie quarterback going into that game, and it actually won 2 of those 3 ball games. So, but give a lot of credit to Coach Matt Dyer and also Stephen. Jackson did a great job preparing their teams and treated the fans, I thought, to a really good ball game.
I agree. It's one of those very special settings. And you hate to see either one of those teams lose. Fortunately, it's not a regional ball game, but it does prepare them for some big games this week. Smith County at DeKalb and Watertown next on Gordonsville's schedule.
Let's go ahead and look at DeKalb County and Warren County. Warren County comes back in the second half after DeKalb led narrowly at halftime to win it 34-27. Alex Van Buren, 11 of 22 through the air, 200 passing yards, a touchdown, an interception, 75 yards rushing, and also a couple of touchdowns. So he really led the Pioneers. Isaiah Robledo, 8 rushes for 80 yards, a couple of touchdowns, 3 receptions, also for 64 yards. As always, Briz Trapp and Malachi Trapp are 2 of the leaders for the DeKalb County Tigers. as I predict they will be all season.
Their names were called on every ball game quite often last year, and it looks like it's going to be that way again in 2023.
For Watertown, they get a big win at home over the Forest Rockets. Brett Price, 12 of 17 in the air for 70 yards, 12 rushes for 64 yards. Adam Cooper, 16 rushes for 68 yards, a couple of scores. And Murphy, pretty amazing. Trey Pack, school record 51-yard field goal. That's outstanding for a high school kid.
When I saw those numbers, I mentioned to you that that young man's going to win a couple of ball games with his foot this year. That's a great weapon to be able to do that over 50 yards.
And then, you've got him on the kickoff, Smurf, that, he can make teams start at the 20, because in high school football, if the ball breaks the goal line on the kickoff, then it's dead right there. You bring it to 20. When most teams, 30, 35-yard lines where they average probably setting up shop.
Probably so. So he's certainly going to be a big part of Watertown's attack this year.
Kwame C, a man that we heard from last year, 3 rushes for 30 yards, 5 receptions for 30 yards. But I think the thing that sticks out to me here is Watertown gets the shutout. Josh Hackett's the defensive coordinator there, and they're continuing to excel in that category.
We'll have an interview with Coach Webster coming up here fairly soon, but he was quite proud of his defensive unit. Anytime you can put a 0 on the opponent's scoreboard, that's a big win.
And you don't know, Murphy, with scrimmages, they're hard to gauge. Passing leagues, all that stuff's hard to gauge until you get out there on Friday night, and see how your team performs. Most coaches don't know what they have and what they don't have. And I think the improvement from week 1 to week 2 is usually, it's greatest because you have that actual film that you can go back and watch.
Yeah, I don't know if Gordonsville's played Forest, at least in several years. And Forest is another one of those schools there in Chapel Hill that's growing exponentially. And this I think, is probably their first time at the 2A level also.
Eagleville, a school also that's growing big right there in that area. It's a big growth spurt for sure. Let's go ahead and look at the Monterey and Cannon County. Monterey goes to Woodbury and gets a big 25-14 win. Monterey, Mason Bowman leads the way, 15 rushes for 122 yards, 2 scores. Of course, he had a huge year last year. Colin Fowler, an outstanding basketball player for them. He's got 18 rushes for 120 yards and a couple of scores. But the Wildcats, always known for the running game, Murph. They're big up front, they're physical. And it looked like that was the key to their win.
I think so. Cannon County had multiple chances. I was at that game for most of the second half, and the lead changed hands, I think, 4 or 5 times in that ball game. But going down the stretch, Monterey did not make mistakes. Cannon County made a couple, and that was the difference in the ball game.
For the Lions, Kobe Miller, 5 for 11, 134 yards, and a couple of touchdowns. That's nearly 27 yards per reception or per pass completion. And then Zay Odom, 2 receptions for 86 yards and a touchdown. But, like I said, these teams will improve, and we're looking forward to see what they've got in the future.
While we're still on that game, I need to remind our viewers that Cannon County is scheduled to play Providence Christian in Murfreesboro this coming week, but that game will be played at MTSU. Providence does not have an on-campus field, and they've worked out a deal with MTSU to play all their home games at Floyd Stadium.
That'd be great. Thanks for that little nugget there, Murph, and we'll have some week 1 recap and week 2 preview when we return here to the Box Score, brought to you by Carthage Safeway.
Your trusted friend for all your grocery needs in Smith County is Carthage Safeway, your home-owned and home-operated supermarket. From the delicious USDA steaks in their meat department to the freshest produce around, Carthage Safeway is proud to serve you and your family. Todd and Angela Skurlock and everyone at Carthage Safeway are always there with a friendly smile and a helping hand. Great service, prices, and selection. That's Carthage Safeway, 80 Dixon Springs Highway, Carthage.
Hello, I'm Bruce Daniel. I've lived in Cannon County all my life. For the last 59 years, I've only made it across the highway. I married my wife, Melody, in 1981. We hauled our first load of freight in 1983 with one truck and a couple old borrowed trailers. We found a way to make it. Our employees are the backbone of our company. Some of our team members have been with us for more than 30 years.
Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for chief geologist, general mine foreman, mine engineer, graduate mining engineer, electrical superintendent, mobile superintendent, mine supervisor, and more. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and lots more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
Life moves fast, and that means all of your technology should too. DTC is proud to be your local technology partner, helping you connect what matters most, no matter where you are or what you do.
For a limited time, earn a $25 bill credit for you and $25 for your favorite local school when you add or upgrade internet service or TV with DTC.
DTC Communications, connecting what matters most.
And welcome back to the Box Score. Terry Collins along with Murphy Farrell. We want to thank our fine title sponsor, which is Carthage Safeway. Go by and see Todd and Angela over on Dixon Springs Highway. They've got a great breakfast, great lunch if you want to plate lunch, or call them for any of your catering needs, and we appreciate them sponsoring our show. Let's look at the Sonic of Carthage scores for week 1, Region 4-1A. York, a big win over Clay County. Murphy, I thought that game might be a little closer.
Yeah, I thought so. York, a 2A school, they did drop down from the 3A ranks as well, but Clay County did make it all the way to the finals last year in single A, and I, like you, thought it would have been certainly not a shutout.
McEwen gets a win over Joe Burns. Red Boiling Springs scores their most points in school history with a 61-0 win over Sunbright, and the Aiden Link kid at quarterback, he's the real deal. Outstanding athlete for the Bulldogs, and then Smith County's win, and we've already talked about.
McEwen's win, McEwen's win, I've got to put a plug in there for my good friend Rick Rice, the head coach there. This is his first year to coach at McEwen as the head football coach. That's where he played when he was in high school, probably 30 or 40 years ago. But nonetheless, that was a huge win. Great momentum builder. That's a very young football team over there.
Let's go ahead and look at the Region 3 2A scores. Sonic Carthage bringing you those. East Robertson goes to Liberty Creek. Liberty Creek, a team that Smith County will see next week. East Robertson gets the 42-20 victory, and then Charleston County against Livingston. Murph, Livingston had done some good things in the preseason, but the Jackets get a big 9-0 win.
That was a big emotional win for Trousdale County after last year. They didn't win a lot of ball games, and a lot of people questioning whether or not the youngest Satterfield needed to be at the head of that program, but obviously he's doing some things well. They were awfully young last year, and there were times that they only dressed, 20 or 21 kids.
Right.
So numbers were certainly down, but looks like things are getting better.
Macon County on Saturday night goes to Westmoreland, gets a big 33-13 win, and Murph, that's always been a big rival. But when you look at Kyle Shoulders and Gabe Borders back for them, Mr. Football finalist, there'll be a formidable foe.
And a big congratulations to Sean Loftus, the head coach of Jackson County, for pulling out that win. A close one over Clinton County, but wins don't come very often on the football field in Gainesboro, and I know he had to be happy about that one.
Of course, we talked about Monterey over Cannon County and Smith County over Gordonsville. Murphy, when you look at these, we call them rivalry games a lot of times. Sure. In week 1, which used to be week 0, we talk about those. But it's everybody getting ready for region play. And, some teams that I've talked to are still shuffling, have not settled maybe on a quarterback or a starting position here or there, or after week 1 have already had to deal with the injuries. So, the head coach has, a lot of responsibility once the season starts. You don't just say, okay, here's the 11 I'm going to put out there on offense or defense. That could change.
Yeah, and this coming week is still a non-regional week for just about everybody across the state. Regional games don't begin until week 3, so it's going to be interesting to see. There'll be a few long road trips for players and fans alike this coming Friday night.
Look at the Region 4 2A Sonic or Carthage scores. Upland a big win over Fayetteville. Had a young man, in fact, when I talked to Riley Martin on Saturday morning, he went to that ball game up at Baxter and said the Bees were very impressive in their win over Fayetteville. Marion County gets the big win over East Ridge, Moore County over Cascade, of course Watertown over Forest, Monterey over Cannon County. Anything jump out there to you?
No, not really. I'm kind of like you. Fayetteville had defeated Upperman a couple of times in the last 2 years, but don't ever sell Adam Kane short. He's going to have his team ready every Friday night of the season.
Region 4 3A Sonic Carthage scores. Page gets a narrow win over Giles County, 35-34. Sequatchie over Bledsoe. Of course, both of those schools not far from Pikeville to Dunlap in the valley, as they say. Lewis County, a big win over Community, and then Watertown's victory over Forest.
That's the first time I saw Page actually won that game. TSSAA and Coach T as well. Friday night had Giles County the winner in that ball game. Right. So that really makes a lot more sense with Page being the 5A school and Giles 3A.
Let's go ahead and look at the Region 4 4A scores. Of course, we talked about that Upland-Fayetteville game, but, you know, getting a little deeper in that game, Murphy, they said that Upland ran the ball and ran the ball and ran the ball and was physical. And, you know, since Adam Kane has got to Upland, who used to be, under Ben Harry, more of a wide open team, 4 and 5 wides, they've gone back to smash mouth football, playing stingy defense. And since he's come from Sequatchie County, he's developed the Bees into a very good football team.
Coach Kane played at McCauley, and Coach Kane played in the line. So he's a smash mouth kind of guy when it comes to Friday night in the fall. And if he's got the guys up front, which obviously he does, you're going to see a lot of that. And that'll probably be one of the last scores reported every Friday night if they don't throw it any more than they did the other night.
White County gets a win over Silverdale. Stone Memorial, close one over Cookville, 25-20. Cumberland by a field goal over Scott, 10-7. Making over Westmoreland, Trousdale over Livingston. Let's go ahead and look at the games that are coming up. Watertown at Gordonsville, the Huff Puff Trucking Game of the Week on DTC Sports. Joe Burns at Bowden Memorial in Kentucky. Red Bowling Springs at Midway, Westmoreland at Clay County.
Some pretty good rivalries there. Gordonsville, Watertown goes way back. I think Watertown wins that one just because of the depth factor, probably more than anything else. Joe Burns desperately needs to bounce back. Ballard, not a great football team north of the Kentucky-Tennessee border, but nonetheless, that'll be an interesting game for Joe Burns, I would think. Red Bowling Springs with that record-setting effort last week against Sunbright. Who would have thought Red Bowling would score 61 points? They gave up that many in several games the last two or 3 years. And then Westmoreland at Clay County, that's generally, that's developing into a pretty good rivalry, I think.
Red Bowling getting their frequent flyer miles going to Kingston and going to Sunbright. Let's look at the Region 3 2A game, Smith at DeKalb. Big game in Smithville, of course, still up in the air where that game's going to be played. It's going to be at 7:30. We do know that. Trousdale at Macon, that's a huge rivalry, Murph.
Yeah, it is. It's a border war, and there's folks in both of those communities. As long as they win that game, they're satisfied for the whole season. Sale Creek at Jackson County is kind of interesting. Sale Creek, a school just north of Chattanooga that really has only been playing football about 9 or 10 years. But Jason Fitzgerald, who has coached at Meigs County, taken them twice to the Blue Cross Bowl, he's the new head coach at Sale Creek, and I noticed they got a win the other night. So he's already turning that program around after just one ball game.
Westmoreland and Clay County, both of those teams coming off disappointing losses.
Yeah, and like I said, it'll be that's one of those emotional games, but they've got to forget about that one in the past and gear up for this coming week's games.
Monterey at Rockwood, and then Houston County at East Robertson. Let's go ahead and look at the Region 4 2A games. Cannon County at Providence Christian, and as Murphy told you, that'll be at MTSU. then Cornersville at Forest, Cannon County at Richland, Fayetteville at Moore County, and Cascade at Richland.
If I had my pick of one of those games, I'd go watch Fayetteville at Moore County. Both of those teams pretty solid. They're in the same region, I think. No, I'm sorry, Fayetteville 2A now, I believe.
Right.
But nonetheless, not very far apart are those two teams. Fayetteville just south of Lynchburg. Ought to be a real good one to watch there.
Let's go ahead and look at Region 4 3A matchups. Of course, their Huff and Puff Trucking game of the week on DTC Sports is Watertown at Gordonsville. That game has been moved back to at least 7:30, and of course, some of these games, depending on the heat, might go back to 8. So, which is a real probability in a lot of the games across the mid-state. Sequatchie County is at East Ridge, Community at Eagleville, Lookout Valley at Grundy, and Giles County going to Savannah to play Hardin County.
I think all 5 of those games pit one team of one classification against the opposing team from a different classification, but just because the school's bigger doesn't mean that that's the way the games are going to go.
Let's go ahead and look at our final Region 4 4A games. Of course, Smith at DeKalb, Whites Creek at Livingston. Of course, I'm sure those two teams couldn't find an opponent, but the game that I'd love to see, besides the trials to Macon, is that Lebanon and Upland game.
Yeah, it ought to be interesting to watch. Whites Creek probably getting a travel award. That's a Nashville school going all the way to 20 or 25 miles the other side of Cookville. So they're going to have to leave before school's out probably on that one.
Of course, Lebanon at the 6A level, traveling down to Upland, but Upland's 4A. But Adam Kane, better watch out for those beats.
Everything's in their favor. They've got nothing to lose going up against a 6A team, and I think they'll keep that one pretty close.
Cumberland at County at Bledsoe County, and Stone Memorial at Sweetwater. Of course, we can't mention Upland without mentioning Justin Malden, one of their most famous graduates.
They talk about him over there all the time.
They've got plaques up over there. We'll have more of the box score when we return. Brought to you by Carthage Safeway.
That's not plaque on his teeth, is it? No. Okay.
Community Wellness Clinic is a nurse practitioner-owned and operated full-service medical clinic. Our emphasis is on good health and wellness throughout every generation of your family. We strive to provide the expert quality of care that our patients deserve and expect. Along with primary care services, we also offer a full complement of urgent care services. Let us be your family's good health partner. Community Wellness Clinic in Woodbury. Phone 615-563-7515.
Your trusted friend for all your grocery needs in Smith County is Carthage Safeway, your home-owned and home-operated supermarket. From the delicious USDA steaks in their meat department to the freshest produce around, Carthage Safeway is proud to serve you and your family. Todd and Angela Skurlock and everyone at Carthage Safeway are always there with a friendly smile and a helping hand. Great service, prices, and selection. That's Carthage Safeway, 80 Dixon Springs Highway, Carthage.
If you're a commercial driver looking for a company to call home, Huff and Puff Trucking is the company for you. Our employees are professional and dedicated individuals that take pride in what they do. We offer an outstanding pay package with a dispatch structure that maximizes your home time. To learn more about a company that knows you by name and treats you like family, call us at 1-800-965-5033 or visit our website at huffpufftrucking.com.
Now, welcome back to the Box Score. Terry Collins along with Murphy Fair in our show number 2, and we've got Watertown head coach Gavin Webster with us. And Gavin, it's hard week for you in the fact that you're playing your alma mater, Gordonsville. At Gordonsville, I know that brings back just a wealth of great memories for you.
Oh yeah, it's always good. Going back home and playing them over there. Just anytime you play them, whether it's at Gordonsville or Watertown, it's always, you see a lot of old faces you hadn't seen in, years. And, it's always good.
Coach, a lot of people haven't seen Watertown play. As Terry mentioned, only the second week. Do you have a young football team? Do you have a lot of kids back? A little bit of both? What's the Purple Tigers look like?
We are, Murphy, we're pretty much, we've got got 15 seniors, which is a good group of young men, and pretty much most part of them, played last year. So, we graduated 7 seniors last year, and of course, not all of them played. So these guys got a lot of experience coming back. So we do have a lot of experience coming back. We got some young sophomores, stepping into the limelight too. But for the most part, we're pretty veteran football team.
Coach, when you look, you got Brett Price now as your quarterback. Looked like he did a pretty good job of running and throwing the football for you. He had an older brother, pretty good quarterback for the Purple Tigers a few years ago. We're not going to mention his name because his head gets so big when you brag on him. But still, the all-time, I guess, stat-wise, best quarterback to be in some pretty big shoes for Brett to fill into.
Yeah, it is, and of course his brother Seth, he's actually quarterback coach also, so they get to work very close, with one another. And when we made this decision to go with Brett, we knew what Brett was capable of, if he, got his head on straight and everything, and just tried to block everything out, and he's really took this role and has really come a long way, and I'm very, very proud of it.
Gordonsville had probably their biggest rival this past Friday night, but there's a lot of folks in Gordonsville that would say, nay, it's Watertown. It's Watertown, because you guys have been playing each other for a long, long time, too. Is this one of those games that you don't really have to get your kids fired up because they know it's a Gordonsville week and it's going to be a big game?
Yeah, we really don't have to, do a lot. Of course, again, if you can't get yourself ready on Friday night, you don't need to be playing the game anyway. So, but, we talk about it and everything, and they're doing a good job preparing and getting themselves ready.
Coach, a big factor this week in practice and on Friday night, which has already kicked the start time for a lot of games back, is heat. I know that's got to be a concern for you because you can't put pads on because of a certain level of, what the heat index is. And then, of course, if it's over 108, you can't even start the game. So what have you tried to do this week to try to adjust that, because we've had some of the hottest weather of the year this week?
Well, not a whole lot of adjusting you can do. We had to go inside yesterday. The adjustments we've made for today and tomorrow is we moved our practice time back to later in the afternoon, starting out inside, and then we're hoping by a certain time temps will go down enough for us to be able to go outside, even if we get to go out with no pads, just go through some kicking game, go through passing game on both sides and stuff like that. So that's kind of our approach this week.
Coach, your overall numbers they just continue to get larger. It seems like Watertown, one of the high schools of choice, I think, for a lot of families in Wilson County. With that said, how much platooning are you doing? Do you have a lot of kids going both ways, or are you able to start 18, 20 kids in a ball game?
We pretty much, our offensive line do not play defense unless they're playing a backup row. So I don't have any offensive linemen. Now, when it comes to skill guys, a lot of those skill guys, are playing both ways. But when you can rest your big boys and not having, you got other guys that can go in there and do the job that, so that's about the 2 platooning the most that we do there.
Coach, when you look at what Watertown has been, I think this is your 17th year to be there, and what they've hung their hat on is always a good running game and solid defensively. And I know Josh Hackett hounds your defense. You got a shutout last week, but that's kind of been your MO since you've been there. And I know that's something this year that you, once again, yes, you have the ability to throw the football, but also, playing tough as nails defense and limiting the other team's points.
Yeah, we like to, again, we'll do what the defense gives us, but we really like to run the football and try to do things off that. And at the end of the day, sometimes you got to be prepared, and you can't, as long as you got a solid running attack and you got a pretty good passing attack, if you have to go back on one or the other, it's great to have. I've been in the boat before where I've been just very, could run the ball but couldn't throw, and then vice versa, and that's not a good recipe, a lot of times. So being able to do both is always a plus.
Coach, with Gordonsville's game last week being a Thursday night affair and DTC serving the Watertown area, I've got a sneaking suspicion that you guys probably watched the majority of that game and never had to leave your lazy boy or your sofa. You could just watch it at home.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me what you think about Gordonsville and its young quarterback. I thought Smith County's quarterback and Gordonsville's both played awfully well last week to be as young as they are.
Yeah, they both did. I'm very impressed with the Foster kid from Gordonsville. He did very well running the offense, and he did very well bouncing back. Made a bad decision here and there, but then the next play or two or next series, he'd come back and making plays. So very impressed with him being a sophomore.
Coach, when you look at the two receivers they have in Gentry and Hancock, both outstanding athletes, they have speed, they can make people miss. I know sometimes when you have one good receiver that you can kind of shift your defense and, get a lot of help from different places, but a lot of times they don't line up on the same side of the field. And when they split those guys out, it puts a lot of pressure on your defense. I mean, last week, Foster throws for 231 yards.
Yeah, when you got two very good receivers like they have, it's pretty much you got to pick your poison, They put them both on opposite sides of the field, and, Coach Hackett, he'll have a good game plan. And at the end of the day, it's, somebody's got to make plays. So hopefully we can make more plays on defense than they can make on offense.
Gavin, Gordonsville probably faced its biggest opposing offensive line last week. Smith County's awfully large, tackle to tackle. What about the size of your guys up front on either side of the ball?
Offensively, I haven't done an average, but I would say we probably average across the board 250, 255 up front, probably around 250. Defensive line, Coach Hackett, Josh Hackett defense, he likes that quickness. So we're, got some decent size on the line, on the defensive line, but more quick than anything.
250 pounds at a Class 2A school seems incredibly huge. How big was the offensive line when you played at Gordonsville?
I think Mark Lewis was the biggest cat we had, and he was 240. We might have been lucky if anybody else was over 200.
That's kind of what I figured.
I know I was way off from it.
But it's that way all over the state now. Kids are just getting bigger all the time.
Yeah, kids get bigger and bigger.
Coach, being such a rivalry, and you've been involved with this as a player and now as a coach, when you look at Friday night, it's not going to be the norm. You're not going to be going out at 7. You're not going to be doing your agilities at 6. That's going to have to be a little bit different for you and your staff and your players.
Yeah, it is. We've kind of already made arrangements for Friday and kind of know what we're going, how we're going to approach that, having to move everything back and fighting the heat and all that good stuff. So we feel like we know what we're going to do Friday as far as, our game plan and all that and how we're going to get there. And so, not too much adjustment, just having to move everything back.
Well, Coach Webster, we appreciate you visiting with us. I know your Purple Tigers got a big win last year and looking to do the same this year in Gordonsville as the two teams that have been a great rivalry through years meet at Turney Ford Field.
Yeah, it should be a great ball game Friday night. It's always a good turnout with fans on both sides, and it shouldn't be any less this year.
Coach Gavin Webster's been our guest, the Watertown head football coach, and we'll have the Huff and Puff Trucking Game of the Week and plus Murphy's matchups when we return to the Box Score, brought to you by Carthage Safeway.
Do you ever worry about the safety of your home when you leave? Or at night while you're sleeping? Then give your home a professional security makeover with help from DTC Security.
For just $49.99, get a system with a touch keypad, 3 window or door sensors, motion detector, key fob, and standard installation. There's never been a better time to get started.
Contact us and start your home's DTC Security Makeover today.
Community Wellness Clinic is a nurse practitioner-owned and operated full-service medical clinic. Our emphasis is on good health and wellness throughout every generation of your family. We strive to provide the expert quality of care that our patients deserve and expect. Along with primary care services, we also offer a full complement of urgent care services. Let us be your family's good health partner. Community Wellness Clinic in Woodbury. Phone 615-563-7515.
Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for chief geologist, general mine foreman, mine engineer, graduate mining engineer, electrical superintendent, mobile superintendent, mine supervisor, and more. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and lots more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
And welcome back to the Box Score for the final session of the day. A good interview there with Gavin Webster, Watertown head coach. I know it's a very emotional game for him, Murphy, and we're going to pick that game, or you've actually kind of give us a prelude of who you think might win that game. But, it's got to, when you go back home, like he said during that interview, it's awful special.
And it's awfully tough on Gordonsville, the 2 most emotional games they're going to play all year long, and that's how they get the season started, back to back.
And then they've got Trousdale County, another emotional rival here pretty quick. Looking at the Huff and Puff Trucking Game of the Week on DTC, of course, that's a 7:45 airtime, and then an 8 o'clock kick from over Gordonsville. They're pushing that back due to the weather.
That's what it is right now. It's subject to change, right?
Right. And hopefully it'll stay that. Of course, if you want to see the schedule for the entire year, you can go to www.dtc3.tv and get the schedule for the entire year. Let's go ahead and look at the series history. Teams have played it every year since 1975. Gordonsville beat Watertown in the Lions Bowl 36-0 in 75. Watertown won last year in, was that in Gordonsville or in Watertown? I can't remember. It may have been in Gordonsville. It was 28-13. Of course, they're playing again in Gordonsville this year because of the 2-year series. And then Gordonsville leads the series 35-14. But Watertown has won 7 of the last 8 meetings, Murph. Most points scored was 48. Watertown scored that in 2018. Gordonsville scored that many in 2012. 14 shutouts in the series, and I think just like last week, can Gordonsville slow down Watertown's rushing attack, and can Watertown slow down Gordonsville's passing attack? That may be the winner.
Yeah, and then, there's always the who's going to put the ball on the ground or in the opposition's hands most always seems to be a factor in that game as well. With so much emotion on the line in that game, it'll be a dandy to watch, no doubt.
Of course, the 2 turnovers that Gordonsville had last week led to 2 Smith County scores with it was a 6-point ball game. So, we know turnovers are always a big key. Now we're going to get to Swami out of Murph, and we're going to start off with the West Tennessee picks and Giles County at Hardin County, Murph.
That's a 3A against a 4A. Giles at 3, Hardin at 4. That's where my daughter lives, Hardin County High School. But I actually think Giles County's got a shot to win that ball game this year. It's almost a border war. The Wayne County's between the 2 of them, but nonetheless, I look for a big turnout. Giles County fans follow their team quite well. I think that'll be an exciting game there in Savannah. I'm going with Giles and a mild upset.
They're looking to avenge last week's 1-point loss to Page. Obion Central at Westview.
Obion Central, under the tutelage, if you will, of Coach Palmer, who was at Shelbyville Central 3 or 4 years ago. He got his team started off with a win over Dresden last week, and I think Obion Central's got a shot to beat the Chargers. That game will be played at UT Martin, as all of Westview's home games is.
The Adamsville Cardinals and Murphy's grandson heading over to Selmer to Buford Pusser.
That's
territory.
Yeah, him.
I think you might go that game.
I think I might too. You forgot that's where Ray Blanton's from also.
That's true.
But nonetheless, a big rivalry game there, the two teams in the same county. And with my grandson playing, I've got to pick the Adamsville Cardinals in that one.
Let's go ahead and look at the Middle Tennessee, or the East Tennessee picks, excuse me. We'll start with Lenore City at Loudon.
Normally I would say Loudon, but Mike Zeller, who used to coach at Lenore City several years ago and then backed away to where he could coach his daughter in softball, is back at the helm of the football program there. And Lenore City won a big one last week to get the season started. So I'm going to pick Lenore City in that one, another mild upset, if you will.
Red Bank stepping up in classification and going to Ray County.
Ray County, a team that, if I'm not mistaken, their head coach, Mark Pemberton, was Coach Maynard's roommate when they played football at Tennessee Tech together, and I've got to go with Ray County in that one.
Of course, Coach Pemberton, the former coach at Upperman, and then went on to Knox Webb. Powell at Farragut.
Two really good football teams. Powell pulled off a big upset last week. I don't know if they can do it against Farragut, but they had a pretty good team in the championship game last year. So I'm going to go with the visitor in that one, the Powell Panthers.
All right, let's go ahead and look at some more picks in Middle Tennessee. A rivalry that's only a few miles separate two schools in Brentwood Academy and Brentwood High School. And Brentwood looked pretty impressive. I guess I saw them Friday night.
Yeah, they kind of beat Blackman bad and made them like it, so to speak. And Brentwood Academy lost a heartbreaker down the stretch in just the closing seconds of the game. They got beat by CPA. So I was impressed with Brentwood and their new coach, who's been there, I think this is his third year now. But maybe another upset in the making. Brentwood Academy, a lot of four-star recruits on that football team, but I just thought Brentwood High School played so well. Maybe they're ready to do it again this week.
Of course, we don't have Pearl Cone up there, but when you look at who they knocked off last week, probably going to be a little sting. And NBA and Innsworth, you know, that's always a great rivalry.
Sure is, and with it being at Innsworth, you know, you would say, well, we're going to be on turf there and not at Page, but it's the other way around. Page now has turf on its own field. Innsworth has a grass field, so that's probably not a factor there. I would think NBA would be the favorite there because Innsworth has moved down a class in Division II. They're now Division II AA instead of AAA, so I've got to go with Marty Everard and the Big Red.
Page at Independence.
Both of those teams had tough times last week. Page did No, they got beat by Giles County, right? And Independence got beat by Riverdale rather handily. That'll be a really good one. That's kind of a Williamson County battle, a lot of pride on the line of that one. And that's probably the toughest one to pick, but since they're playing at Indy, I'll have to go with the Eagles.
Yeah, Page a 1-point win, I believe, if I remember right, 35-34 over Giles County. Thanks so much, Justin Malden, always flipping the buttons for us and doing a great job. For Murphy Fair, I'm Terry Collins. Good night on the box score.